People of color, what's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school? I will go first. I know I'm going to get some shit for this. I'm Canadian, so at the high school I went to, the hockey guys were the elite group, especially the seniors. And I think when I was in 9th or 10th grade, I had heard about, these epic parties, throughout the year, and, they would invite, the younger girls that they thought were cute. But that's not where it gets disgusting. Wait. At these parties, they had a number one rule. You guessed it. No niggas allowed. So they would say this with their chest at these parties. And there was one mixed kid who was allowed at these parties because he was half white. People of color, what's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
You know how kids don't always want to eat their lunch? Well, I went to a Catholic school that's now been closed down. And my teacher decided because I didn't eat about 2 things in my lunch that I should go in front of the class and eat an apple out of the garbage. So she made me stand in front of everybody and eat my apple out of the garbage because I threw my lunch away. This never happened to anybody else. She also made another foreign kid in my class shit his pants because he wasn't allowed to go to the bathroom, and everybody made fun of him for years. I still know his face, it's burned in my memory. He's a kid who sat in front of me who shit his pants because of the teacher. Or another time I was pantsed and my underwear came down and somehow I was in the office and the girl got to go about her whole school day and I attacked her after school and almost got suspended in grade 3.
People of color, what's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
My freshman year of high school was the year that Trump got elected. So after the results came out, there were kids running across the school with Trump flags, Make America Great Again flags on their backs like capes. That same year, the school was vandalized with swastikas, and there was a whites-only sign put on the bathroom. My high school has been on the news multiple times for several acts of racism and hate and violence towards people of color. I got death threats for being black, for being poor, and it got so bad that I had to leave my school and be homeschooled. I had people from all across the county harassing me online because I called out a white boy for saying the N-word. And a white kid at my school attempted to murder another black kid in the county, and guess who got away with it scot-free? And that black kid was put in a coma.
People of color, what's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
Okay, so this isn't the worst case, but this is one that came from a teacher, so I thought this was the one I should share. So one time in history class, we were talking about celebrities, and I jokingly pretended that I didn't know who Reese Witherspoon was. So my teacher turned to me and said, "Oh, you're one of those Japanime people." And for a while, I convinced myself that he just said that because I didn't know who Reese Witherspoon was and not because I was Asian. But this was disproven at the end of the school year when he gave everyone these little sticky notes saying what he'd remember us by. And my paper said J.A. I asked what that meant, and he said it meant Japanime. The thing is, that was like a 2-minute conversation at the beginning of the year that no one remembered, including me. And I had many other memorable moments in that class, including the time that we spent 10 minutes of our class discussing how I looked like a hippie and I should just dress the way I normally do for the day we had to dress like people from the 60s. He called me a hippie, but he couldn't remember that, but he could remember Japanime.
What's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
This one teacher just came up to me and started speaking to me in Spanish. I'm Asian.
People of color, what's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
Okay, I've been waiting for this one. So, I'm half black, and I go to a majority white high school in Georgia. But what's interesting about that is my majority white high school is surrounded by majority black high schools. So it's purposely districted to be white while all of the other high schools are majority black. And what's more interesting about that is that the one majority white high school has all of the higher housing prices, the nicer houses, the shops and everything, and it's the number 2 school in the state. And so all of the education funding goes there, does not go to the other schools in the county. So now the stories. So first off, when a black girl was walking in the hallway, a white guy followed her around, playing whipping noises on his phone. And the second story is that where the black kids sat in the lunch table, people started taking a knife and carving the N-word into the table every single day so it was darker, so that they would know that they're not welcome there. That's Georgia for you.
What's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
This is a culmination of all my experiences: elementary school, middle school, high school, college. I was once told by another student that all will be well because my skin color will soon fade and the teachers will like me. An English teacher would consistently use the word articulate with me when describing my presentation style and not to any of the other students. When my social studies teacher would talk about slavery, she would take all the black kids in the class, put them to the front of the room, and tell them to pretend that they were slaves, and proceed to explain how we would have no rights and basically other us for the whole class, as an example. And most recently in college, I was trying to get study abroad money to go to Italy because I've never been to Europe before. And I went to the office of study abroad and the lady told me I should go to Africa instead.
People of color, what's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
During the 2016 election, there was a lot of Trump supporters in my high school. Mostly everybody knew I was an immigrant, but this guy told me that he was going to deport me, but he was going to deport my parents first so that I could watch, and then he would deport me. Joke's on him, I am a U.S. citizen now, bitch.
People of color, what's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
My name is literally Brendan, and one day when I missed class, my teacher asked all my friends, hey, where's that kid Paco or Pablo or whatever his name is? In my orchestra, when I transferred there, everybody knew me as Brown Kid. My high school was very Trumpy, and literally they had an entire Mexican line called South of the Border for lunch.
What's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
So one time I was going to a friend's house and I was walking to like the university buildings, and as I'm walking, these two white boys on the top floor see me walking, and they start making monkey noises at me on some racist shit. And I'll never forget that. That was like one of my first or second month moving to this new PWI.
The most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
This ain't even the only thing I dealt with going to that damn school, but let's go. So I went to school in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles. That's the really, really white part, very Caucasian, a lot of white people. And I had creative writing my senior year of high school, and my ditzy-ass creative writing teacher had a really weird way of trying to teach the class about stereotypes and racism. She had all the brown and black kids stand up in groups in front of the class, lined up, and let the class scream racial slurs and stereotypes at us. Yeah. And right when it was time to get on the white kids, the bell rung. So, of course, nothing happened to them that day. They didn't really have reason to be upset. They were just more so confused. She had no explanation for what the fuck she did or why she did it. So, long story short, we got the dean involved and got that bitch in trouble.
People of color, what's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
So when I moved from Mexico to the U.S., I went to Alamo Heights High School in San Antonio, and there was this guy named Henry who basically looked at me straight in the eyes while my dad was picking me up and said, "Fuck all the Mexicans in this school," and then started cracking up with his friend group while just staring at me. And I went home and I cried the whole afternoon. And I had a bunch of racist experiences at that school. Like, for instance, whenever I was at a classroom, everybody would be like, make Regina read, because they wanted to hear my accent. But I do remember one time where a girl did defend me when somebody was like, shut up, Regina, in the middle of class. And she went up to him and she was like, don't ever tell her to shut up. So shout out to Shelby Shield, who stood up for me.
People of color, what's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
So, hi, I'm going to try to make this really quick. I went to a predominantly white school. I went to two, but the first one I went to was Coastal Carolina in Myrtle Beach, and it was the most... So, I remember this one time I went to my friend's house for dinner, and while we were sitting down eating, we were like eating in her dad's shed, and he goes around and talks about all the flags in his house, and then he stops at the... Confederate flag and tries to explain to us, me and one other black person there, how the flag wasn't racist. 2, I had a friend that introduced me as her black friend and said, "Hi, this is my black friend Raven, and she hates when I talk about her hair and asks if I can touch it." 3 happened to me on numerous occasions. Every time we went out to a party, they would tell you, "This is not the right party for you. Your party's on the block," or "I like dark chocolate, but only when I'm drunk." And just meeting a whole bunch of black men that said they only like white women, or you were the token black girl.
People of color, what's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
The thing I'm about to say isn't about me, obviously, since I'm pretty white. And basically, I remember about that time when I was in my freshman year of high school, and a teacher refused to call a girl by her name because it was too hard to pronounce. So instead, she decided that she will call this girl Marta for the remaining part of the year. Needless to say, that girl left the school after that year. Yeah.
People of color, what's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
I went to a predominantly white elementary school, so of course, naturally, all my best friends were white. Well, one of them had this birthday party. It was so cute. It was like tea themed and everyone took photos. It was literally the talk of the school for like a week. Well, my girlfriends come up to me and they're like, "Natalie, how come you didn't go to so-and-so's birthday party?" I had no idea about it, so I was just like, "I don't think I was invited." And they're like, "Of course you were, let's go ask her." So when we ask her, she goes, "Sorry, I didn't invite you because my dad said you're Mexican."
People of color, what's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
There are Muslim girls in Ireland, starting from age 12, in secondary school that are being forced to remove their headscarves in order to get an education. In the 21st century, in Ireland. I am not Muslim, I'm Christian, but I find it, and I do not speak on behalf of anyone, but I literally find it insane that in my 6 years of going to secondary school, I had no idea this was going on. It makes me so sad for the future girls that are going to come into the school and they're going to be treated this way and no one is doing anything about it.
Have you or anyone you know ever shared a nice experience with a celebrity?
I've been waiting for this one. I have the best celebrity story you'll ever hear in your entire life, and it makes me so happy. Okay, so I used to work at this like really, really high-end clothing store, like pre-pandemic. And Robert Downey Jr. came in one year to Christmas shop. He came in and he was wearing this really cool jacket. So I was like, "Oh my God, that jacket, it's amazing." And he was like, "Thank you so much. It's like the first time I've worn it." I was like, "Yeah, well, chef's kiss, it's fucking phenomenal." And then like fast forward, he finishes shopping and everything, and we're helping him out to his car with the bags of Christmas presents that he bought. And he takes the jacket off and he gives it to me and he says, "Merry Christmas," and this is it. And I have Robert Daddy Jr.'s jacket. I have Robert Daddy Iron Man's jacket. I have Iron Man's jacket. I feel like Peter Parker.
Everybody want to use AAVE, but white people lingo.
I think my favorite has to be when we were playing badminton in gym, and then the gym teacher came to me and she was like, "Laura, you couldn't hit water if you got pushed out of a boat in the middle of a lake."